next item we have is we're going to start out with report outs. General Government Subcommittee, Senator Peck, Office of Administrative Hearings. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to give a little information about the Office of Administrative Hearings, and then we'll get into their budget, the Sub-Budget Committee recommendation. The mission of the Office of Administrative Hearings is to conduct hearings for Kansans who contest the actions of state agencies and other governmental entities. The 6 agencies that most frequently utilize the Office of Administrative Hearings make quarterly retainment payments to them. All other agencies make payments to the agency based on the hourly services provided. This is a little bit difficult to follow for some, but since the Office of Administrative Hearings is funded from agencies that utilize their services, expenditures are categorized as off-budget expenditures to avoid double counting payments from one agency to another. The agency has 14 FTEs, and I had asked during the Sub-Budget Committee hearing, on our write-up, there was on page 5 the mention of the fact that they use interpreters and translators. The chair, me, asked about, is not English the official language of the state of Kansas? Why are we paying for interpreters and translators? That was as far as it went. The committee didn't do anything. The chair didn't push the issue, but I just thought that I would mention the fact that we are expending Kansas tax dollars for interpreters and translators, people who don't speak English. My feeling has always been, come to the United States. We'd love to have you, learn our language, fly our flag, adopt our culture, and you would be a productive member of society. That was a little commentary on the chair, Mr. Chairman, that you didn't ask for, but in any event, the chair took liberty. Now, although no state general fund money is used, it is taxpayer money, and the agency's 10-year increase is a 95% increase in expenditures, nearly triple the rate of inflation. Again, Mr. Chairman, these are just notes from the chair of the Budget Subcommittee that he wanted to just put out publicly in the Ways and Means. Now, as it relates to the agency budget for fiscal year 2026, I could go through some numbers, but I'm not going to. I'd rather listen to music from my colleague on my right. Excuse me, Senator. But just to cut to the chase, Mr. Chairman, the Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation for fiscal year 26 for the Office of Administrative Hearings. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to attempt to answer questions or to defer to any of the other subcommittee members.
Questions for Senator Peck? Seeing none, please proceed.
To fiscal year 27, Mr. Chairman, is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm not going to go through my information again, but it still stands. But the Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation for fiscal year 2027. And with that, I'll be glad to sit for questions.
Any questions for Senator Peck on 2027? Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just add that this also concurs with the governor's recommendations for both 26 and 27.
What's that have to do with anything?
It's a budget.
Any other questions? Senator Peck, would you like to make a motion?
For both years, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the Senate Subcommittee on General Government Budget report for the Office of Administrative Hearings.
And it's seconded by Senator Clem. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have Kansas Human Rights Commission, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Kansas Human Rights Commission is the state agency responsible for enforcing laws that prohibit discrimination and ensure equal opportunities in employment, housing, and public accommodations. In fiscal year 25, the agency handled a little over 1,000 complaints and resolved 974, about a 96% resolution for the agency, which is a good number. For fiscal year 26, the agency is fully funded with state general fund money, $1.2 million, and fee funds of about $500,000. The revised request includes a decrease of $75,000+ from all funds, and a lot of that, almost all of that, is a reduction in salaries and wages, primarily due to staffing levels remaining below the authorized number. This is a deliberate attempt, an effort by the agency to maintain sufficient cash balances in operating funds. However, complaint volumes, Mr. Chairman, have continued to increase, so the agency has a heavier workload. So they told us that they do plan to hire an additional special investigator, and they indicated this position would be funded with federal funds in 2026. The agency has 20 FTEs, and I will bring the committee's attention to the fact that 20 FTEs is down by 3 FTEs since fiscal year 2022. We were pleased, the chair was pleased with the Human Rights Commission report and how they are doing a reasonably good job with taxpayer money. So with that having been said, Mr. Chairman, the Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation in fiscal year 2026 for the Human Rights Commission. Be happy to stand for questions.
Any questions on 2026? Seeing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, not a lot here other than what's already been said. So I'll just mention that the Senate Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation for fiscal year 2027.
Questions on 2027? Seeing none, you'd like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would make a motion that the Ways and Means Committee, I'm not even sure what words I should use, but adopt the subcommittee's recommendation for the Human Rights Commission for fiscal year 2026 and 2027.
We have a motion by Senator Peck, a second by Senator Klemp. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have Judicial Council. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Judicial Council, created by the 1927 Legislature, which I'm going to take a little liberty with a little comment. The 1927 Legislature, I'm confident, was much different than from the 2026 Legislature. But the council was created to study and make recommendations on the legal system in Kansas. Mr. Chairman, I'm confident that the 2027 Legislature was made up of farmers, ag producers, and probably no females. So we are a much different legislature now. I say that because of something I'm going to say in just a little bit. The 10-member council is composed of one Supreme Court justice, state Supreme Court justice, that is, one Court of Appeals judge, 2 district judges, 2 legislators, and 4 attorneys. So you can see from those, that composition, it is entirely attorneys. The agency employs 5 full-time staff. The agency is supposed to identify areas of improvement and assign projects to standing advisory committees, which is made up of legislators, judges, attorneys, etc. On occasion, the agency will create ad hoc committees to study specific legal issues. On their website, the agency does provide free legal forms to the public. They also author and distribute publications that cover a variety of legal topics. The agency budget includes per diem and subsistence payments for committee members when they do meet, but the committee members seldom take their per diem. We were told that about 90% of the time the members, when they get together for a judicial council meeting, do not take their per diem and subsistence, but they do allow for reimbursement of their mileage and any motel expenses that they may have as a part of their work with the Judicial Council. In their budget, the agency requests spending authority of up to $5,000 for official hospitality. I just mentioned that because we had fairly lengthy discussion about that particular expenditure, and that $5,000 is for beverage and lunch for committee members. We did not remove it as a committee. Didn't seem to be that big a thing to anyone but the chair. The agency has a Judicial Council Publications Fee Fund, and these are things, Mr. Chairman, that I learned after the committee meeting, so I'm bringing them up for the full Ways and Means because I think we may want to do something. The agency has a Judicial Council Publications Fee Fund currently holding some $120,500. These funds are from the sale of publications prior to fiscal year '24. And if you're looking at the agency information, you'll notice on page 3 that in fiscal year '24, the agency went from fee-funded to state general fund funded. And I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I cannot answer the question as to why. That might be something someone else could answer. The fund remained opened so that in fiscal year '24 and after, all monies received as gifts, grants, or donations for preparation, publication, or distribution of legal funds, and that is KSA 20-2207, paragraph B, they could be deposited into the fund, and that's the reason we have that $120,000 fee fund that's just basically hanging out there. The budget subcommittee chair, not the committee, but the chair believes that the $120,000 in the fund should be transferred to the state general fund. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at another time, Mr. Chairman. And the Budget Committee Chair believes that the legislature should consider, this is, again, I want to stress, not part of the Budget Committee's recommendation, but the chair believes that the legislature should consider whether the agency created in 1927 is still needed. I think that sometimes we just don't ask questions about why we have government entities, why they were created. Okay, they were beneficial. Are they still beneficial to the legislature? This is one that I would like to have a discussion to see if we want to move the Judicial Council into a different branch or in the judiciary. I have visited with legislators, and I have not found anyone who has told me, oh yes, the Judicial Council is extremely beneficial. As a matter of fact, I have visited with one person who has been a chair in the legislature that I was told might be beneficial to visit with. I visited with this person, and they could not give me a reason why the Judicial Council existed, even though they had used them a couple times while they were chair. Having said all that, the Budget Subcommittee, the Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation for fiscal year 2026 for the Judicial Council. I'll be glad to answer questions.
Questions for Senator Peck? Senator Holscher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would just like to interject that I have used the Judicial Council in regard to various topics and bills and have found it, their expertise very beneficial, because sometimes in the course of a hearing on a bill, you can't dive into it as far as you need to. And the Judicial Council has been able to do that deep dive on some of these very sensitive, very detailed topics and provide recommendations that we as, people who aren't, who aren't law experts wouldn't be able to come up with. So I do think that there's something to be said in terms of the expertise that they provide.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personally, I believe that the Attorney General's office could handle a lot of the responsibilities that the Judicial Council handles, but that's, again, Mr. Chairman, a discussion we'll have another day. I just wanted to put this on the table.
Other questions? Seeing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Same report for fiscal year 2027. The Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget concurs with the Special Committee's recommendation for fiscal year 2027 for the Judicial Council. And I'll be glad to make a motion unless there are questions.
Go ahead and make your motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that the Senate Ways and Means Committee accept or adopt the Senate Ways and Means Subcommittee on General Government Budget with their recommendation for fiscal year 2026 and 2027 for the Judicial Council.
I have a motion, second by Senator Clem. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Peck. Committee, next we'll have a budget report outs with Senator Fagg. We'll start out with the Corrections and Public Safety Subcommittee, and we'll start out with the Sentencing Commission. Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Kansas Sentencing Commission was created by the 1989 legislature to develop a sentencing guideline model or grid based upon fairness and equity, and to provide a mechanism for linking justice and correction policies. The commission tracks and assesses sentencing's impositions using statistical methodologies to develop prison population projections and legislator impacts to interested parties, including the Kansas Department of Corrections, the governor, and the legislators. The commission also administers a substance abuse program created by the 2003 legislators in SB 123, principally codified in KSA 216824. The agency has two programs that assist with this mission. There's an administration program and a substance abuse treatment program. So with that, I would like to move into the 2026 agency. The agency requests a revised estimate of $15.9 million, including $15.9 million SGF and 15 FTE positions in FY 2026. The revised estimate is a decrease of $99,191 or 0.6% below the approved by the 2025 legislators. The revised estimate includes $2.4 million SGF reappropriation in the substance abuse treatment program and a $203,000 SGF reappropriation in the administration program. The agency lapsed $49,276 SGF of these unspent funds due to a vacant FTE position in 2025. The revised estimate also includes a decrease of $49,915, all from special revenue funds, as the agency plans to use reappropriated funds in place of special revenue funds for budgeting expenditures and software updates to the agency's electronic journal entry software, and to develop a new IT workflow initiative to automate the SB 123 program provider certifications and client assessments. The Special Committee on the State Budget, the Special Committee concurs with the agency's revised estimate for 2026 with the following adjustments. Delete $2.6 million SGF to lapse the non-capital improvement reappropriations in FY 2026. And the Senate Budget Committee concurs with the Special Committee recommendations in FY 26 with the following adjustments. Add $2.6 million SGF to restore non-capital improvement reappropriations lapsed by the Special Committee in FY 2026. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions for Senator Fagg on 2026? Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So could you expand on what that $2.6 million that was lapsed by the State Budget Committee and now put in by the subcommittee, what exactly that covers?
Senator Fagg.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to concur to refer to Senator Owens, who will answer that question.
Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that money is all substance use treatment money that was allocated. This money is what has funded the SB 123 program, and that money is needed to continue that program and ensure that the members and individuals receive treatment. So the vast majority of the Kansas Sentencing Commission's budget is the administration of that, and the legislature over the last 6 years has expanded access to that treatment 3 different times. And this is simply the reappropriated funding that is needed to pay the providers providing that substance use treatment.
Other questions? Senator Petty?
Just as a follow-up, so, so these are that is 2.6, but, so it's the 2.4 that's reappropriated. Is there a reason why it wasn't expended in 2025?
Senator Owens?
So this is 2026, just to be clear. And in the 2026 budget is where we're putting this reappropriation back into. And 26, first of all, isn't done yet. So it's making sure that we're clear there. That being said, if you'll also notice, they didn't make an additional request in 27. And part of this is the reality that they didn't utilize it all as they anticipated, so they're not asking for any more because they believe that this will cover their needs in 27 as well.
And that also includes the $203,000 as well?
For the administration of the program, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, Senator Frag, would you like to continue?
Let me make a motion.
Whichever you want to do.
I move to pass out as recommended by the subcommittee, a recommendation for FY 2026 budget.
I have a motion, second by Senator Peterson. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Senator Fagg, if you want to do 27, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency requests $13.5 million, including $13.4 million SGF for FY 2027. This is $14,000 or 0.1% above the amount approved by the 2025 legislature. The increase is largely due to increases in health insurance rates and the anticipated increase in contractual services and capital outlay for contract renewals with Carlton Behavioral Health to maintain the provider payment system and with Demo Inc. to maintain the electronic journal entry system for FY 2027. The special committee concurs with the agency's request for FY 2027, and the Senate Budget Committee concurs with the Senate Committee recommendation for FY 27.
Questions on 2027? Seeing none, Senator Fagg, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I move to pass out as recommended by the subcommittee, the FY 2027 budget.
Second by Senator Peterson. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation was established in 1939 as a division within the Office of the Attorney General. The mission of the KBI is to provide professional, investigative, and laboratory services to Kansas criminal justice agencies and to collect and disseminate criminal justice information for the purpose of promoting public safety and the prevention of crime in Kansas. The KBI headquarters located in Topeka, and the agency has regional offices in Garden City, Great Bend, Lenexa, Pittsburgh, and Wichita. Laboratory facilities are located in Great Bend, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Topeka. So when we move into FY 2026, the actual budget, the agency requests a revised estimate of $62.3 million, including $45.5 million SDF and expenditures in FY 2026. This is an increase of $2.4 million or 3.94% above the FY 2026 approved amount. The increase is primarily attributed to increases in expenditures for laboratory instrumentation, which is $1.2 million, and passenger vehicles, $1 million. Other increases are related to remodeling lab space in Great Bend, which is $717,000, firewall replacement of $361,000, moving to Microsoft 365 with $282,000, onboard employees $188,000, and the National Criminal History Improvement Program $107,000. These increases are partially offset by the reduction in expenditure for salary and wages, 1.4 million, laboratory supplies at 96,000, and all other adjustments at 66,000. So the special committee concurs with the agency's revised estimate in FY 2026 of the following adjustments. Is delete 30,426 to reappropriate unspent funds for the meth lab cleanup fund in FY 2026. And then the Senate Budget Committee concurs with the special committee recommendation FY 26.
Questions for Senator Fagg on 2026? Senator Owens.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to take a minute with the chairman's leave real quick to talk briefly about some of the conversation, because I think it's important to recognize in the 2026 budget summary, the agency request, page 9, one of the things we noted and talked quite extensively about was this $1.2 million in salaries and wages that were deleted from 26. Now, I've got to give the agency credit because they actually let us know that there were excess wages, and they didn't just go off and spend them as they saw fit. They actually let us know where they were going to spend that money. And so, again, page 9, budget summary agency request, you can see SGF, you can see where that salaries and wages was deleted, then what it was spent for. So it begged the question, well, if that's the case in 26, then what does 27 look like? And should we be spending that $1.2 million or appropriating it again per their request? And what we found from the agency was that while they weren't able to get those employees hired in time to utilize the money in 26, those employees are already hired, have made it through training, and they will be expending. They do need that money because they have hired those employees going into 27. So I just thought it was really worth pointing out, because I think that one of the things we have to be more specific on agencies is this idea of ghost employees, right? When we're approving budgets into the future, we're approving them based on what they think they're going to need. And then if they don't fill those vacancies, what happens to the money? And I think we need to ask every agency that runs into this, what are they doing with the money? And then do they actually need it in 27, or do we need to claw it back? So I just wanted to share that information with the committee, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Other questions? Senator Petty.
Thank you. I think that's a good point. I think that's to remember that can be true with other agencies that have difficulty getting hires on, and so that I'm sure this is not going to be the only budget where we're going to see that, where they've hired them. And after the original report came out, also, I would mention to the committee that this budget does not show the governor's recommendations, and I've asked for that to be, that should be printed on all of them, and I've asked for new ones to be provided for us.
Other questions? Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious, do you know how many vehicles were purchased for $1 million?
Senator Fagg.
Can you repeat that question? I've had enough thought.
Yes, there's an increased expenditure of $1 million for passenger vehicles. Do you know how many vehicles that $1 million covered?
I do not know the total number, but the ones that they were looking to get rid of, we had a very robust conversation on that. That's what I would say. And I do not know the number.
Senator Owens, do you know how many of us replacing?
So this was I do not have that number specifically. I know we talked about the professional and scientific equipment. We didn't spend a lot of time on the passenger cars because that was record check fee fund, and we were pretty focused on the state general fund. So we didn't dig into the number of vehicles or things like that.
We're going to have an answer here in just a second.
There you go.
Senator Fagg. Senator Fag.
14 is what's going to be involved in this $1 million.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions? Seeing none, you can either make a motion on 26 or move to 27, whatever you prefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to pass out as recommended by subcommittee the FY 2026 budget.
Motion, we have a second by Senator Peterson. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. You want to move on 27, Senator Fag?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency requests $62.6 million, including $47.5 million SGF in expenditure for FY 2027. This is an increase of $2.7 million or 4.54% above the FY 2026 approved amount. The increase is predominantly attributed to the proposed enhancements, operating expenditures for the Regional Crime Center and Lab of $885,454, Forensic Lab Rehab and Replacement Fund of $750,000, and the Career Progression Plan step increase of $229,386. An additional increase are associated with projected salaries and wages of $343,000. Moving to Microsoft 365 was $297,000. Onboarding employees, $176,000. The National Crime History Improvement Program of $174,000. Consumables for the Pittsburgh Regional Crime Center of $44,000. And increases for cellular services and recruitment consultants of $61,000. These increases are partially offset by decreased expenditure for software and information processing of $210,000. So the special committee concurs with the agency request for FY 2027 with the following adjustments. They deleted $885,454 to not add operational expenditures for Pittsburgh Regional Crime Center and Lab for FY 2027. And they deleted $750,000 to not initiate a forensic rehab and replacement fund for FY 2027. So the Senate Budget Committee concurred with the special committee recommendation for FY 2027 with the following adjustments. We added back the $885,545 for operating expenditures for the Pittsburgh Regional Crime Center and Lab for FY 2027. We did not add back the $750,000. So there was conversation of when you go build a new building, you're going to have new expenses that this $885,000 kicks into. And we felt like at this time we didn't want to start a new fund. So that's where the $750,000 went. So I stand for questions.
Questions on 27? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Pittsburgh Regional Crime Center is up and operational, is that correct?
Senator Fag.
Thank you.
Senator Cluse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Fag, for that update. The other thing I would mention, in taking out that $750,000, is a lot of that equipment is starting to age, and it is going to be something that we're going to have to look at some point. Thank you.
Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I might just add on that 885, if you'll recall, just last week we had a conversation in this committee about one-time ARPA spending and whether there is additional costs associated with that. Well, we built this building using those funds, and these are some of the ongoing costs as a result of that one-time spend. So this 885 will be built into their base budget beginning in the 28 budget, just so you know.
Other questions? Seeing none, Senator Fag, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to pass out as recommended by the subcommittee the FY 2027 budget.
Motion, second by Senator Cluse. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Fagg. Next, we will have a presentation on the Midwestern Higher Education Compact. We belong to this compact for a number of years. Susan Heegard, Vice President of Policy and Research, is going to give a report. Susan, welcome to committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. My name's Susan Heegard. I'm the president of the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, or MEC, our acronym. And I'm joined by two of my colleagues from our office, John Berzik-Dreyer, who is our VP for Policy and Research, and Jane Crosby-Schmidt, who's our project manager, and both of them are new staff within the past year. We have a hard copy of our slides that have been provided for you, but we've also got a slide show here too. All right, so first off, I wanted to thank you, Senator Billinger, and the committee for asking us to testify today. We are obligated, and we want to visit every one of our 12 Midwestern states during the best time of the year right now. This is actually warm compared to where we came from. And so Kansas has always been our first state that we visit. You're also one of the first, I think you're the first state that joined the compact. Well, we're spending about 2.5 days here. And I would invite you either during my presentation or at the end of it to follow up with questions. Our team can also respond if we're not able to answer your question today. We'll happily follow up later. So, am I doing this right? There we go. So as I mentioned, it's the Midwest Census Region, 12 Midwestern states, and there's sort of 3 key principles. We leverage the knowledge and expertise of post-secondary leaders in the region to address challenges, and there are many right now. We save you and other states a lot of money, and that's a key part of the work that we do. And I'll go into deep depth on that in just a moment. And then we have policy and research initiatives that are kind of cross over a number of areas, but really in large part, the focus is to support workforce readiness in your state. We were founded in 1991 through enactment of legislation through the Council of State Governments, and we're funded by member state commitments, program income, and foundation grants. And we're very grateful the $115,000 commitment that Kansas provides to us. There are the member states listed up there for you. And as I mentioned, you were the first state to join the compact back in 1990. Here are our commissioners. 3 are appointed by the I think 3 appointed by the governor, and then I believe 4 are appointed by the legislature. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. Senator Erickson is one of our new commissioners. Thank you for your service. And on this slide, you'll see really the ROI key piece that I'm highlighting. I like to talk about us having 2 sides of our business. One side of our business are our cost savings programs and contracts. And the other side of our business is our policy and research. Because we're an instrumentality of state government, we're written into statute in every one of the states. We're a compact. And so that means that as a state, we can do business with 1 or more states without the federal government's involvement, unless we're doing something that bumps up against their jurisdiction, like transporting nuclear waste or something like that, which we don't do. But there are dental compacts, there are medical compacts. We're a compact focused on higher education cost savings. So the first line up there you'll see is distance education. And you've got 47 institutions in Kansas participating in this. Before, if you wanted to offer a distance education program, you've heard a lot about online learning, you had to register in every state as an institution where you wanted to provide that program. Now you just have to do it once if you meet certain standards, and that's done through our compact. And that saves your institutions about $4.6 million, and in return gives your students in this state so many more options. In terms of technology savings, that's just north of $1.4 million. Those savings occur in 2 ways. One is that you get about a 10% on average savings on the contract. The other savings, though, is really on time and time. Because as you know, the process of going through a public RFP process, it takes a long time. We actually are able to stand in the shoes of the contractor and do all that front-end work for you, and the contract can be tailored. So it's turnkey and ready to go. We had a property insurance program for many years. We covered that big fire up at Kansas State a number of years ago in the library. We've wound that program down, but there's still some dividends coming to the institutions. And we're just beginning to start up a captive insurance program. And then the last point on there is that we do provide meetings and learning opportunities, scholarships, and grants for a variety of activities in your state. And that totals $6.3 million. We're also providing, because we're not a bank, we've had some additional technology revenue. The technology contracts, and I'll share the user list with you, but there's hardware and software. The main contract is with Dell computers, but we also have Oracle and HP and Parchment offered to your state. We have a $250,000 grant that we're making available to states to focus on innovative ideas and solutions in higher education. Like I said, we're not a bank. Our job is to turn that money back when we have it. We also have a student health insurance program through United, and 7 Kansas institutions and their students are participating in that this coming year. And then finally, we have a legacy program that has waned in importance, I would say, so we're taking a fresh look at that. But I met with one of your legislators last night, and his daughter actually took advantage of the exchange program. So a number of years ago, the MSEP program allowed a student to go to school in another Midwestern state for about 150% of in-state tuition. And then private colleges also benefited from that. But with the elimination in large part of out-of-state tuition, unless you're a big university, those exchange programs just aren't as relevant anymore. A couple of the programmatic areas that I wanted to just highlight for you. We try to provide learning opportunities, and our Midwest region has more in common with itself than probably other parts of the country. And so we have a lot of opportunities for folks to learn from one another. So the Kansas Board of Regents was involved with an effort for something called Open Education Resources, or OER. Higher Ed has lots of acronyms, but in essence, what this really is an alternative to textbooks. We know how expensive textbooks are. Open Education Resources are free to the student and eliminate, for example, that requirement that you get a new textbook every year or every 2 years. And I have 2 kids that just finished college, and it was just beyond me how expensive those textbooks were. So we focused on those alternative learning materials for students. Also, dual credit, dual enrollment. I know that in your state and in others, high school students have a chance to take courses in a 2 4-year college or get a certification. And so we've provided meetings that allow people to learn about the best way to do that and options throughout the Midwest and how to pay for it. We also, after the big mess with the FAFSA a couple of years ago from the federal government, we brought people together to help students figure out how to fill out the FAFSA. And then finally, we've got a technology committee, and we've got a couple people from your state focused on that. I'm going to quick run through some data. We've really tried to consolidate these slides. And John's here if you have more detailed questions. He can either answer them today or later. But I'm going to start with the attainment slide here. And basically, attainment is having a credential beyond high school. So the argument is that everybody needs to go to get a 4-year degree. The argument is, in order to have a good job and support your family, you need to have some credential beyond high school. You track a little bit above the national average at 57%, and you're moving in the right direction. The slide that follows this slide breaks that down for you. So if you look at the top horizontal bar there, on the far left, you'll see 8% of your students don't have a high school diploma, 23% do, 12% of people have some credit but no degree. And then this is a really important area, certifications, both industry and college, that 4% and 6%, that's a growing area. So especially in the trades and things, being able to get a certification in a key field is important, and then beyond. So the bottom line is you want to have techs and doctors. You want to have a broad range that meets your workforce and employer needs in the state. And every state's a little different. Here's another way of looking at your state in terms of enrollment. You've heard about the enrollment cliff. On this slide, it shows that the number of high school graduates in Kansas is projected to decline overall. If you look inside of that, and this is very common across the Midwest, really the only state that's growing robustly is North Dakota. Of course, you know they have lots of oil there, but even they're facing some challenges. So inside of that population, very typical in the Midwest, the white population is either plateauing or decreasing. And then the population that's non-white is growing. And it looks different in every state. Here in Kansas, I believe your fastest growing population is Hispanic, Latino. On this slide, this shows you an undergraduate enrollment, and it's an average, so you could look at your different sectors like your tech colleges, your community colleges, and your four-year institutions. But in recent past, and some of it was prompted and disrupted by COVID, but undergraduate enrollment has declined at public 2- and 4-year colleges over most of the last decade, but it's just started to tick up in 23 and 24. There's always a 2-year lag in that enrollment data, unfortunately, but that's also moving in a good direction. On this slide, this shows migration. So this is just a snapshot. It shows after high school, a year out, and I'm going to talk about some other ways to look at the data too. But the good news for you is that more students migrate into Kansas than migrate out. And you're higher than your neighboring border states. So we put those border states in for you, Kansas with Colorado, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. The question is, of course, after they're here for that year, do they stay? Do they stay here to work and raise their families? And so there's a very interesting project with the Census Bureau. I don't believe Kansas is participating yet, but a number of Midwestern states are, and some other states as well. That we learned about the project in Iowa, and they're able to look 5 and 10 years out, and they were really happy to see that many of their folks, if they leave, they come back. They come back when they're ready to raise their families, come back to their communities and to their state. And that project with the Census Bureau also has wage data, and then it also aligns degrees. It lets you see, like, you have this degree, like what kind of job will it lead to, and what kind of an income can you expect? This next slide shows all 12 states. You can be glad you have much more blue than many of the other states, meaning that 81% of your students stay in the state to go to college. If they leave, that yellow band on the far left there, 9% of folks stay in the Midwest, probably just step over a border, and then 9% of your students head out of the region. And then finally, we've got a price slide here just to give you, this is really standing in the shoes of the student as opposed to looking at it from a system perspective. We took 2 groups of students. One would be those that are $30,000 lower income, Pell eligible, for example, and then about $100,000, which is median. So we show Kansas in blue, the Midwest in yellow, and the US in red. And the good news, well, the average net price, which is you take financial aid and all these other things out of the equation, the price for the student, the sticker, not the sticker price, but the net price that they pay for low-income students, that $30,000 group at public 2- and 4-year institutions is slightly higher than the Midwest. But the good news is that your average net price for most of your families, the medium income students, is below the Midwest averages. So that's good news. And with that, and I'm being kind of speedy here, but I wanted to make sure I got through the information and invited questions if you'd like to have that. If we're here for a couple days, so if you'd like to meet with us, let me know. But here are some of the resources that we have. We've got a really cool interactive dashboard that allows you to compare Kansas to your border states, the rest of the Midwest, or the rest of the country on a whole host of indicators and factors. And then there's more detail on our contracts and that sort of thing too. So did they receive the other packet that shows the contract usage? Do we have enough for some of the, we can follow up with that. So the contracts that we have are available to higher education, public and private institutions, K-12 school districts, and local units of government. And so sometimes they don't even know they're using the contract. The representative from the entity will say, hey, I've got a great Dell contract for you. It's turnkey and ready to go, and they are just using it. So we have those user lists if you're interested in having those too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Susan. Susan, we had a little conversation earlier, and you said that total savings for Kansas is how much?
The total savings, Mr. Chair, for Kansas On page 3, the top slide is $6.3 million.
Okay, and I thought you had told me about the 250,000.
That's the grant that's available from us to Kansas, but the overall savings on the top of page 3
Right,
is
I seen him, the 250 is what you had mentioned to me.
The 250 is a grant, Mr. Chair, that we are providing this year for a 2-year period for applicants in each state.
Okay, so we have to apply for that.
Correct.
Okay. Questions? Seeing none, thank you, Susan. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Committee, that finishes our work for today. We are adjourned. Thank you.